Chargers fans, and welcome to another episode of ChargersCast. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer, and ChargersCast is a podcast about everything about our beloved Los Angeles, formerly San Diego Chargers. It's a podcast by fans, for fans. So I appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, talking Chargers ball. Let's get right into it. We've got some interesting and exciting Chargers information to discuss in this podcast. We are first going to go over the Week 14 dogfight victory on Monday Night Football against the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. That was a home game in SoFi in prime time. And then we'll do a brief preview of the Week 15 road game against the division rival and reeling Kansas City Chiefs. So let's get right into it, okay? Kind of preface it, okay? We're coming off a butt whooping from the Jaguars into our bye week, and then we face the Raiders and have a very dominant game. It's the Raiders, but still a very dominant physical victory against the Raiders. In that game, Justin Herbert broke his non-throwing hand, broke a bone, I believe, in the back of his hand, and had to have surgery on the following Monday of that game. Had some screws and some plates put in, and while I think most of us probably thought it was pretty certain he was going to play, they were a little bit coy that it was, day to day, and they'll just kind of evaluate it as the week progressed. As we all know, Justin did start on Monday night against the Eagles, and thank goodness it was a Monday night game and not a Sunday game, because he had that one extra day, a little bit more actually, of an extra day to heal up a little bit more, let the swelling go down, the pain go down a little bit. And I think even that extra day plus actually helped. But my goodness, what a game that was. If you guys recall me telling you the previous week and in the bye week, kind of what to expect the rest of the season, what our goals were, and kind of what we could expect. This team this season has been up and down, and there's a lot of reasons for it, and I think we all know them, starting with Rashawn Slater going out late in the preseason. And, so from week to week, you never know what you're going to get as far as a performance goes with this team, especially considering the weaknesses, is the kind way to put it, on the O-line, trying to protect Justin and consistently block for a running back 3 and 4, basically, at this point in the season. So I believe the message was, hey, look, everything we still wanted this season was still in front of us. We do have a tough schedule after the Raiders game through the end of the season, through Week 18. We do have a very tough schedule ahead of us. And from week to week, we don't know what team's going to show up. Is it going to be the Jekyll or the Hyde? And, we're in the thick of the playoff hunt. So instead of trying to control things we can't control, grab your popcorn, sit down, and enjoy the ride. Because with a lesser staff and a lesser quarterback in particular, and a lesser defense, and our defense has had their struggles this year, but it looks like they're finally starting to come around. This team could have easily been, 4-8 versus 8-4. And so, my goodness, what a game we had in prime time at home against the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. I don't know if I would have predicted quite how that game went, but it is so refreshing to be in a game that is just a nail biter, dogfight, scratch and claw kind of game, multiple turnovers on each side, defensive battle, and have our boys come out on top at the end of the day. We all know under previous regimes that probably wouldn't have been the case. And I say probably being kind because it's probably not 100%, but 99% of the time, it probably wouldn't have been the case. There's a stretch there going back over the last 10 years. There's a stretch where we were losing an insane amount of one-score games. In fact, there was a season, two or three seasons ago, where we literally lost 95% of one-score games. Well, under this new regime, new coaching staff, it is nice to see the tables turn and that we're winning significantly more than we're losing of one-score games. And we're performing well in primetime, which is, I think, important as a fan. You know how we are as fans, little talking smack, little bragging rights. And when your team's the only team playing in primetime, so the entire country's watching, and they lay an egg, which we've been used to as Chargers fans from time to time. It's really nice to see our boys come up on top at the end of the game. So let's kind of roll in here a little bit. This podcast is not intended to... I'm not going to go over a bunch of statistics. We all saw the game. It was ugly. And so I'm not going to go over too much of that. Yeah, this time of year is probably not as much about getting down on the nitty-gritty with statistics as it is really more about the makeup of the team, the heart of the team, the will of the team, the coaching staff's ability to get the most out of the team, especially when you got, even though we're coming out of the bye, we're late in the season, you got nicked up guys, dinged up guys, you're shuffling bodies in and out. So we're not going to talk a whole lot. We'll touch on a few statistics that I think are relevant, but we're not going to go over a whole lot of it. Like I said, what a game. And I tell you, it's very nice to be on the winning side of that, because after that struggle, to have come out on the losing side of that, just as euphoric as we are as fans to have won it, you'd be equally low to have lost it. And that was a big game for us because we're trying to keep pace with the Donkeys, and as a minimum, trying to solidify a wild card spot for the team. So it was a very, very important win, hard fought one battle. Again, just going over my notes here real quick. Man, it was ugly. It was ugly, other than the first series for the Chargers on offense, where Herbert hit Kamani on that short little dump-off crosser, and he took it, 45, 50 yards, set us up, and then Herbo hit Omarion. It was nice to have him back, and he looked really good, with the exception of his pass pro, and we'll touch on that briefly, but hit Omarion for a little screen to score our only touchdown of the game. And that was on our first possession, and it looked pretty smooth on that first possession. And then I don't want to say the wheels came off, but all of a sudden, instead of coasting or going downhill, the rest of the game was an uphill battle. Some key things I wanted to touch on. Justin, first and foremost, our boy Justin, despite having surgery, I don't care that it's his non-throwing hand. That hand gets used for so much, and he had just had it cut open and had work done inside there, screws and plates put in, stitched back up. It's probably swollen like you know what. And for him to come in and play knowing that, that's the hand that you typically will stiff arm with, which Justin ended up doing a few times in the game. You definitely use it to catch your fall as you're offhand, as you're holding the ball especially. There's a lot that can happen to that hand. It's not like you're playing quarterback with only your right arm. And so a gallant effort on our starting QB1 to be in there with the boys and battle it out. And it was a battle. Like I mentioned, we had O'Marion back, and it was good to see him. He looked really good running the ball, catching the ball. Unfortunately, where we saw his rust, if you will, or being away from the game a little bit, was in his pass pro. And our tight ends and our running backs pass protection is so important considering how weak our offensive line is. And there's one play in particular where O'Marion just misstepped, and blitzing linebacker basically made him whiff, ran over him, and just harassed Justin. And this was a game where Justin was pretty much harassed the entire game. Salyer started his second straight start at left tackle. Honestly, with the exception of, I think, one penalty, you didn't hear his name called a whole lot, which for an offensive lineman is a good thing. So I would definitely say, based on my observations watching the game, and I keep a pretty close eye on our line, that Jamari was not the weak link in our offensive line. It's pretty much everything right of Jamari is the weak link, and I hate to say it, but the reality is all four of those positions. Makai, he's not playing up to his caliber from last season, and love him, as a teammate, but Bozeman, and then Pip went down, and they brought Bobby Hart in, and I don't know, at this point that kind of felt like a wash move at that point. I don't think Pip was outperforming him. I don't think he outperformed Pip, but our offensive line was under attack all night, and we'll touch on that a little bit. Vic Fangio is a great defensive coordinator, and he did exactly what I would do if I was a defensive coordinator scheming up against our Chargers. So I don't blame him for it. In fact, kudos to him. But the case is, bigger kudos to our O-line, our stud quarterback, and the entire team, and especially the defense, who Harbaugh gave game balls to the entire defense, and they all earned it. Hats off to all those boys for pulling out the dub after a hard-fought battle in OT, nonetheless. On the 1 yard line, nonetheless, as Philly was getting ready to possibly score a touchdown and win, but as a minimum, kick a field goal and tie. So, crazy game. And it's one of those games where you just go, man, it's great to be a Chargers fan when we can pull those out. So, pretty awesome. Let's see here. We got 5 turnovers on the Eagles, which was awesome. Now, there was that one funky play where we, was it Hand? I think it was Hand that picked off Jalen Hurts. And then he fumbles. Hurts recovers the fumble. And then Hurts fumbles, and we recover the fumble. So there's actually 3 turnovers, 1 interception, 1 fumble on the part of the Eagles, 1 fumble for us on that play. But our defense was playing tough and scrappy, and turning those guys over, which is all you can ask for of our D. Kind of bend, don't break, right? All we need to do is outscore them. We don't need to limit them to zero scoring. And we'll chat a little bit about how the offense, getting the ball back with those turnovers and just being able to scrap out enough to get Dicker within kicking range after that initial opening drive. On our end, Herbert took 7 sacks, most in his career, threw 1 interception and had 1 fumble. That was not pretty. I think Herbert's the only quarterback in NFL history to take 7 sacks and actually win the game, which is an interesting statistic. And by the way, cheers, Bolt fans. One hell of a victory. But we've got 4 more tough games ahead of us before we get in the real tournament. But each week's going to really feel like the playoffs at this point. Talked about the massive pressure on Herbert. Statistics-wise, I want to say the number was like 68.7. Basically, 70% of Herbert's dropbacks, he was under pressure. 70%. Okay, I think that is the highest number since 1978. Don't quote me on that. That'd be through a third party I had heard bring up that statistic. But regardless, literally 7 out of 10 dropbacks, Herbert was under pressure. And I'm sitting there throughout the game going, well, where the heck are our wide receivers and our tight ends? And the bottom line, I think, is they weren't getting open quick enough, number one. And, that, our receivers aren't slouches, so hats off to the Eagles for, covering really well quick. And then they were bringing the heat 70% of the time. I don't have the blitz statistic, but I'll go out on a limb and say they probably blitzed 70% of the passing plays, and that's why Herbert was under pressure 70% of his dropbacks. Fangio, he brought the heat, man, and I would do the same thing. Until our line proves that they can stop it, I'd bring it. And then knowing that Herbert had an injured hand, you got to go for your opponent's weakness. Our weakness is obviously our offensive line, more so the interior offensive line, but at this point, the entire offensive line. And we had an injured quarterback, and we still pulled out the win. So how freaking crazy is that? Because they threw the kitchen sink at us on prime time, got it to overtime, pulled out the dub. Crazy, just crazy game. I am so thankful that we came out on the winning end of that game. And that speaks volumes about, more than anybody, Coach Harbaugh, but also Jesse Minter, also Greg Roman, Justin, obviously, and the whole team. I mean, there's some really, really good leadership on this team, actually in the locker room, which is really cool. If this wasn't the worst statistical game for Herbert, it's right up there as one of his statistically worst games as far as passing yards, passing rating, completion percentage, you name it, statistically. And we all saw it. It looked like a horrible statistical game. But this is by far Herbert's gutsiest game as well, on so many levels. There's that game against the Raiders where, Herbert came back on, multiple fourth downs to get us in it in the playoffs, and then Staley boned us. We all know that history. Kept us out of the playoffs that season by calling a timeout. But as far as true just grit and gutsiness, I'll put this right up there, numero uno for Herbert. And honestly, I'll put it very close, maybe not quite, but very close up there with our boy Phil, playing with his torn ACL removed in the playoffs. Absolute gritty performance by Phil, which, by the way, if you can't tell, wearing my Rivers jersey in honor of Phil potentially making his comeback this weekend. While he's a first ballot Hall of Fame candidate, willing to give that up and come back and sling it with Shane Steichen and the Colts. We'll see how that goes, but a lot of people don't give Phillip a chance, but us diehard Chargers fans who know what Phillip's made of, don't doubt him for a minute. Is it going to be pretty? Is it going to be a Cinderella story? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I think Phillip's effort will come out on top of what any of these haters' expectations are. Even if they don't win the game, it's not going to just be a slaughter. Phillip's going to get his. Smart dude, and he still knows the game, and he knows Shane Steichen's offense forwards and backwards. So hats off to Phil, by the way. Speaking of Herbert's gutsiest game, he went under center, took some snaps, did some RPOs, some quarterback scrambles, and then there was that one scramble. I think we all remember it. It was off to the right, and he's literally straight arming the linebacker with his surgically repaired non-throwing left hand. So I can't say it enough, but I'm not going to belabor it either. This for sure, in Herbert's short but still very decorated career, statistically, this is by far his gutsiest performance. And without that, I've heard some whiners talking about why wasn't Trey Lance in there. The reason Trey Lance isn't in there is he's not better than Herbert with one hand. It's really that simple. And for anybody who questions it, again, you don't know ball. Herbert's legs weren't injured. Okay, Herbert's very capable with his legs. Trey may have a little bit of an advantage with his legs, but not a whole lot. Herbert's exceptionally mobile, exceptionally fast, exceptionally strong. If they'd put Lance in there, Fangio would have kept bringing the heat anyway, and Lance isn't as good as Herbert. It's really that simple. And we got the dub. Herbert did just enough to get us into field goal range for Mr. Ice in his Veins, automatic Cameron Dicker, the kicker, and did just enough to get the W on this game. And that's saying a lot. Okay, while they're not undefeated, this is the defending Super Bowl champs. Their fans travel well, so the stadium was full of Eagles fans, as you would expect in a primetime game. And we got it done and sent them all home with their tails between their legs crying in their beer. So nothing prettier than that. I would call this, at the end of the day, it was so ugly and there's so much lack of production, with the exception of that one blown defensive play to Saquon Barkley where it looks like it was going to be a tush push, and he busted off. It was fourth and short, and he busted off a 50-yard touchdown run on us because we played it like it was a tush push, and they didn't do the tush push. And so with the exception of that one play, and a couple balls to Brown, this was absolutely a defensive battle, and it was a battle of wills. Who wanted it more, and who believed in themselves more? And we did. It's that simple. We did. We made the plays with Cam, Hart, and Unk. And I told you guys 3 pods ago, I think it was, to Harbaugh, to Mentor, don't sit Unk anymore. Do not deactivate him. The guy's a baller. He knows the game. He's smart. He's a playmaker. So far, Unca's been active since then. I know they don't watch this podcast, but if I can see it, they can see it. Stop sitting the dude. He makes plays. And 2 weeks in a row, he's made incredible interceptions. And in this case, a game-winning overtime on the 1 yard line with the Eagles going in to score interception with Cam Hart's help. And it was a battle of wills, and we came out on top. Our offense, like I said, did just enough after that first drive. Did just enough to get us in range for Dicker. Let's see, he had five field goals in that game, and they were all crazy important. But two, like when we say ice in the veins, 8 seconds left on the clock, 46 yards at the end of regulation to get us into OT, and then a 54-yarder in OT. Right down the middle. Absolutely beautiful. And then, as I mentioned already, we're not used to this as Chargers fans, but get used to it with Harbaugh as our coach. We are 5-0 in prime time in 2025. And I believe we're 7-1 or 8-1 in the 2 years that Harbaugh's been our coach. So, prime time as fans, we can hold our head high. Great victory. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I do. I think you guys did. Absolutely amazing game, amazing win. And I will repeat what I had repeated last week and the week before, which is as we head into this coming week, and we'll touch on it real quick. We've got in week 15, we've got a road game against Kansas City in Arrowhead. It's going to be an early start, and it's going to be cold, and it's going to be in hostile territory, and it's going to be against the Chiefs. I don't care if the Chiefs are 6-7. At the end of the day, they're still the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid is still Andy Reid, and it's going to be a dogfight. It's a division game. All division games are dogfights, with very few exceptions. And so, we don't know which team's going to show up. This team has not been consistent in any way, shape, or form all season, but they have pulled out some really, obviously, for 9-4. So we've pulled out some really good wins, but we don't know who's showing up in Kansas City this weekend. Hopefully it's our good, scrappy Chargers, and we get another W. But the one thing I can promise you is it won't be boring. Bring your popcorn, in this case your morning popcorn, so maybe some maple syrup or maybe some pancakes, but enjoy it. We're battling for a spot in the playoffs, and the Chargers are relevant at this time of the season. And I think there's some teams who probably don't want to play us as much as we look at some teams and go, I don't want to play them. Because you don't know what you're going to get with our Chargers. And people know we've got talent. And on any given Sunday, we can come in and smoke them. And we've also got really good coaching. So let's roll into KC. Week 15, road game. Second game of the season against our division rival. First week of the season was a home game in Brazil, which means we got screwed out of a home game, but a home game for the record in Brazil in week 1, Friday night against KC, and we got the dub. We all know this, it's history. We started the season 3-0, and they were all 3 division games. So this is the second game of the season against our division rival. And there's a lot of significance to this game. Even though the Chiefs can't win the division at this point, they're still mathematically not eliminated from the playoffs. However, Number one, they're a division rival. So getting a sweep on a division rival is sweet. Getting a sweep against the Chiefs, who have been dominating the AFC West, would be extra sweet. Getting a W in this particular game against the Chiefs will knock them completely out of playoff contention. So how much sweeter is that? We sweep them and we knock them completely out of playoff contention. And then it helps us keep pace with the Broncos, they're still just winning these tight games. I don't think that's going to continue. They've got a couple games ahead of them, not to mention us in Week 18, that could give them problems. But regardless, if we want a chance in Week 18 to steal the division from them, we need to keep pace with them. So all those things make this game significant. Could we make the playoffs as a wild card if we lose this game? Absolutely. I think out of the next four, if we split them 2-2, we're going to make it as a wild card. But if we want to keep the division in play and have the Chargers win the division and not the Donkeys, then we need to keep winning through this stretch. And so the next opponent is Kansas City Chiefs, away game, morning game in the cold. You got to play the games that are right in front of you. This is our next opponent. So what are we looking like heading into this game? First and foremost, I think, we're all curious about Justin and how he's doing. The reports out of Chargers practice are that Justin's continuing to heal. His hand's continuing to feel better. And so that's all good, especially with the amount of action that he saw on Monday night. So, let's keep putting our thoughts and prayers out there for that he's going to continue to heal up and he's going to still be able to play, but heal up while he's playing, not get worse, but continue to heal up and hopefully be completely healed and ready to kick some butt and take some names when the playoffs start. Not really any notable injuries coming out of this Monday night game. Probably the biggest one would be Trey Pipkins. He had an ankle and he is not practicing yet this week, so it's entirely possible he may not even be active, but if he is active, odds are pretty high at this point he won't be the starter at right tackle. So it'll either be Bobby Hart or our boy that just came over from the Saints, Trevor Penning. And my hunch is it'll probably be Bobby Hart. Just my guess. Few guys who are dinged up, who are limited in practice or not practicing just to kind of get those nicks and dings healed. Safety Molden, linebacker Troy Dye, and Darius Davis. So those guys have been limited or not practicing and, healing some bumps and bruises. So hopefully all those guys heal up by Sunday. As far as our approach to this game, if I was coaching it up, again, you just never know. As a fan, and probably as a coach too at this point, you just don't know which team's going to show up. Is it the fully engaged, dedicated, emotionally vested Chargers? Or is it the one who just kind of walks through? Like in the Jags game or the Colts game this season. And you'd probably say the Redskins game as well. And so, you got to game plan it, but it's pretty tough to know the outcome or at least the effort and all of that stuff when you don't know which team's going to show up. But this is going to be a cold weather game. It's going to be a game against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So if I were scheming this game, I'm going to kind of stick to what I've been talking about most of the season, and definitely here over the last few weeks, which is bring your running game. Okay, run first. It's the winter. It's cold. You got to be able to run the rock in the winter. Period. And Harbaugh and Giro like to do that anyway for various reasons. But it all gets back to physical dominance and violence. And so if you can exert yourself, exert your will on your opponent there, then everything else opens up. And it's cold. It's in a hostile environment. So you want to shut the fans up, is hold the ball for a long period of time, play ball control offense, and run it down their damn throats. So it's not easy against the Chiefs defense, okay, granted. But by the way, do you think Spags is not going to bring the frickin' house against Justin? What's her name from Denver? Vance Joseph. He's bringing the heat to everybody, and sure, he didn't spare us from it. And then Fangio knew where our weaknesses, and he brought the heat like crazy. Everybody's been bringing the heat against our offensive line and against Justin, and Justin's hand's still hurt. So do you think Spags is not going to be bringing the heat? So how do you counter that? Run it down their damn throat, and when they are blitzing, have some plays called that are blitz beaters. So time of possession, keep Mahomey and Andy Reid's play calling on the sidelines, control the ball, control the clock, take pressure off of Justin. I believe that is a winning recipe this time of year, even if Justin didn't have an injured non-throwing hand, but even more so at this point because he does. And by the way, we got O'Marion back. Kamani's basically every other game, he's having a great game. And at this point, Giro's kind of like, hey, look, we've got a two-headed monster. Both guys look great. And so at this point, we're going to feed them both. And I'd love to hear that. So I think those two are a great 1-2 punch. Kind of the 1-2 punch that we thought we were going to have with Najee Harris and O'Marion. It's amazing how things kind of turn out. But in this case, now that O'Marion's back, it'll be O'Marion and Kamani Vidal. So I'm looking forward to that. Bring a running game and then let Herbert pick them apart here and there once we've loosened them up with the running game. It's really all I've got. Let Jesse Minter cook the way he has been. We'll be good there. Like I said, Molden and Troy Dye, they're nicked up, but at the end of the day, I don't think those injuries are major. And I do believe they'll be playing on Sunday. And again, it's a morning game, so you may not bring your popcorn, but bring something equivalent. Sit down in front of the TV, maybe your hot cocoa, and let's enjoy this one. Let's enjoy this one. If we pull off the win in KC, how sweet is that? Okay, we sweep the Chiefs in 2025, and we get to be the ones that end their playoff hopes for this season. And then they play the Broncos in like a week or two. Would love to see them out of the playoffs, number one, and then number two, knock off the Donkeys because it's a division rival. You couldn't script that any better, but that's what I want to see. We beat KC, knock KC out of the playoffs. KC plays Denver, beats Denver, brings them one game closer to us. We play Denver in week 18. We have the tiebreaker. We beat Denver. We win the division. Denver drops all the way down to like the 6th or 7th seed. That would be absolutely beautiful. And we win the division. Couldn't script it any better. All right, Bolts fans, that's all I've got for you this week. It was a lot, but it wasn't a lot. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely nail-biter crazy win. I love it. I would prefer we win by 40 points every week. I've told you this before, but that's not the reality of the NFL. Most of these games are close games, and it's nice to see we're winning our fair share of them. So, gotta love it. We'll be back next week as we head into week 16. We have a road game against the Dallas Cowboys. I believe that is a Sunday game. Nothing special, no prime time, anything like that. We did have our game against the following opponent in week 17 against the Houston Texans. That got flexed to Saturday game, December 27th, doubleheader. So basically a Christmas game, not Christmas Day, but Christmas Saturday after Christmas. So we'll be in, I think it's an afternoon game, so it's not technically prime time, but it's a Saturday game, you know, so it's kind of prime time. It's against the Texans. That one should be a good one, but first things first. Let's take care of the Chiefs. We'll be back next week, talk about the outcome of the Chiefs game, how we looked, and what we can look forward to heading into the Cowboys game. And with that, I will leave you guys for another week. And you know the drill. Who's got it better than us, Chargers fans? Nobody. Bolt up. See you guys next week on ChargersCast. Hi, I'm Kirk Brewer, the creator and host of ChargersCast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of ChargersCast. We really appreciate you engaging with the podcast. When I created ChargersCast, it was intended to be a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers from a fan perspective. It's by fans and for fans. So it's for you, and we really appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, please go down below, leave a comment, give us some feedback. We really love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications when new content drops. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to ChargersCast. And who's got it better than us? Nobody.